that is in Utah. And I also get them from Johnny's Seeds. I forget where they are. These are both the online sources. High Mowing Seeds is another good one as well. Those are the only three that I've used up to date.
Are you having any issues getting those without a commercial license right now? I know Johnny's isn't. Is True Leaf and High Mowing selling to individuals?
They have been selling to individuals for as long as I can remember. I've heard, I follow some of the chat groups. I'm not growing as much right now with the quarantine, lockdown, stay at home, et cetera thing, because I don't go to any farmers markets, and most of the restaurants are very low volume now compared to what they were.
Yeah.
And I'm still building up my home delivery business, so I don't really have enough to sustain, needing more seeds yet.
That makes sense.
Than what I've had before. So I don't really know exactly what the source is or the supply chain management problems are, but I understand there are some because True Leaf was getting them from Italy. And there's some Canadian sources too, but I don't think you can get them here. They don't ship across borders.
Okay.
So I think there's probably some regulation issues with that, but I'm not sure.
And I know we have some folks within SUAC who do have commercial accounts with Johnny's and High Mowing.
Yeah.
So if anybody does and wants to put that in the SUAC Facebook group, if they're willing to order some for some folks, that might be an option.
Yeah, I've had people contact me about joining in on orders that I do with True Leaf Market, because I mean I'm an LLC, so they take that into account, I suppose. Really, what it comes down to is the larger volume you buy, the lower the price is. So.
So we had a few questions about that hemp medium, the growing medium you use. One just being, what's the brand name? Because folks are interested in buying it. I think you said you got it on Amazon.
I get it from Amazon. It's called hemp fiber. It's there. You are not going to get high if you smoke this product. No, it's hemp. It's not cannabis sativa. Yeah. But it's a hemp byproduct. It's one of the things that are made from the stalks of the hemp plant after they've harvested for CBD oils and food items and other things they make with hemp. So it's really a byproduct or a waste product that would typically just get turned back into compost. But in this case, TerraFiber has developed a way to kind of mash it all together and make a 100% hemp product.
Great. Is it reusable? That was one of the questions we had, or do you use it once and then throw it in your compost?
It would be best to compost it, because no matter what the medium is that you use, whether it's that or cocoa coir or anything else, it's not good to reuse that particular medium because you run the risk of E. coli.
That makes sense.
And most people don't like that risk.
So you mentioned cocoa coir, so that's one of the other options. What are some other options for growing medium?
Cocoa coir is probably one of the two most common, that and the hemp fiber. And I use cocoa coir when I grow cantaloupe greens. And a lot of people use them for sunflower greens also. And the cantaloupe is interesting because it tastes just like biting into a juicy cantaloupe. But it grows better in the cocoa coir. I have not tried it in the hemp yet, so I don't really know how well it works, but it's such a large seed. It tends to need a coverage. So anything you would grow in soil where you actually bury the seed or you stuff it down and then cover it up would be something you would want to use in cocoa coir. There's also a bamboo product that works fairly well, but I didn't care for it too much because it's so thin. So since I'm doing this commercially as well as for personal usage, it becomes a little more difficult to handle. The growing and the flavor were no different. So its performance and its flavor were just identical to what I do now.
Someone asked about growing outside and if you need the pad. Is there an option to grow in soil? I can imagine it gets a little messy with soil.
Well, it'll grow in soil just fine. It just depends on what the temperature is. And because it's growing a plant. It's just like any other plant, except you've congested the seed rate. So you have a lot more seeds in a small area than you normally would. Because you're making a small forest canopy. Elsewise, you'd be out picking one microgreen, one microgreen, one microgreen. And it would take probably quite a while. And this is a much more efficient way to grow a microgreen, is to do it in a congested area. Now, you could even do that outside too. You could do it right in trays, for that matter. You could do that. The problem might tend to be the temperature and the rainfall. If you have a lot of rain, it would, pretty much drown it out like it might any other plant. So I prefer a more controlled environment. And studies I've read say that there's no difference in the nutritional value. And some people say, oh yeah, it tastes better if it's grown in soil. Other people say, no, it doesn't. I've tried both and I can't tell a difference. And I'm kind of a food snob, so that doesn't mean that I know everything when it comes to flavor. But to me, it tastes very comparable between the two different mediums.
Great, thank you. We
You're
had
welcome.
a couple questions about the water that you used in the sprayer, as well as in the trays themselves. One, is it just plain old water? Is it distilled? Were there any nutrients in there?
That's a great question. I prefer to use water that's been filtered through reverse osmosis, and that's what was in the sprayer. Now, I do add a small amount of hydrogen peroxide. When I say a small amount, what I mean is I add about a tablespoon to 2 gallons is the dilution rate. And that's just because sometimes if my air conditioner doesn't dehumidify as well as it should, then I might get a little bit of excess humidity on the plants, which causes a little bit of mold down at the bottom line. And if that ever does occur, then I don't sell those, but I will still eat them. I just kill them with the hydrogen peroxide. I kill the mold. Yeah, I mean, unless it's an outbreak of mold, then no, I'm just going to toss it.
Are there any, so we have some questions about temperature control and like LED lights and sunlight.
I use LED lights that are 6,500 in the lumens, because that's even whiter than the sun. The sun is about 5,400 K. And so this is extremely white. It doesn't require any of the fancy LED grow lights, which go into the red spectrums and the blue spectrums. Now, most people that use those are growing something else that's not legal in Florida. But the white spectrum lights will grow microgreens beautifully, and they're very inexpensive, and they cost almost nothing to operate. I mean, you can get I think it's 6 4-foot lights for about $50 off Amazon. And I'm not an Amazon apostle or anything like that. It just happens to be convenient, because it's very difficult to find a lot of the supplies we need here in the Tampa Bay area. But they have them usually with the best price. You can get them. There's another company called Bootstrap Farmer, which is a .com. And they are a great outfit for learning about microgreens, specifically seed rates and what works well, what doesn't work so well, because not everything will grow well as a microgreen. I mean, microgreen tomatoes would probably taste terrible. It wouldn't taste like a tomato at all. So, although I haven't tried it. So Bootstrap Farmer is a good source, Amazon, of course, and even True Leaf Market sells a lot of supplies too. And it just depends on what your preference is, how frugal you are. The nice thing about Bootstrap Farmer is they use all recycled food grade products in their trays, like the 1020 trays. They're all recycled materials, and they're all at a food grade. So did that answer the question, or did I go off on a tangent?
I think you went off on a tangent, but also answered the question.
Okay. Well, tangents are cool as long as I get the answer out there.
Had a question about what I think the question was, when you water after that initial spray, you're just watering underneath, correct?
Yeah, it's bottom watering. You just want to water the roots, because if you water on top of the plant when they're that thick, they will mold,
Okay.
definitely. I mean, you'll just end up with a real mess up there. So the rule of thumb, and it varies, some plants require a little less, like red amaranth doesn't take as much water as um, kohlrabi does. But the general rule of thumb is about a cup of water in the morning and about a cup of water in the evening. Red amaranth, you can use half that, and it does fine. It's a more drier plant. More drier, more gooder. Yeah, that's it.
And then do you keep that lid on for the entirety of it? When do you take it off? And
Usually about 3 days in the shorter grow times. Now, some of the herbs and things do take a little longer to grow. They might take 3 times as long to grow, and so the blackout period might go 3 or 4 days longer. The rule of thumb, again, is when you get up to about a 2-inch growth and you get the first leaf, and you've almost got the cotyledon going, then you can go ahead and expose it to light, and it'll be strong enough at that point to take the light.
perfect. Um, with the you were measuring the weight of your seeds because you like precision. Is it that 28 grams or 1 ounce for every seed type, or is it different depending on the seed?
Different seed rates. Yeah, your smaller seeds tend to require more, just simply because it takes more seed to cover the same amount of area. Your larger seeds, like cantaloupe, actually requires even more than that amount. It requires like 4 ounces, 4 to 6 ounces for the cantaloupe seeds, even though they're huge seeds. But the seed itself is very dense, so there's a lot of weight within the seed. And or I'm sorry, it's exactly the opposite. It's not very dense. There's not a lot of weight in the seed, so it requires a larger amount weight-wise for the seeds. So 1 ounce is kind of that's a pretty heavy seed rate for that. 3/4 would be probably perfect, simply because you don't, when it's too dense, again, you have the potential for mold issue. And a lot of it's trial and error. I do fine with 1 ounce, but I've done it with 3/4 of an ounce too, about 21 grams. It's not exactly an ounce. An ounce is like 28 point something, but it's close enough for me for what I'm doing. Some people just measure by tablespoons. 5 tablespoons, that's what I want. And that's okay too. But doing it commercially, I prefer to keep a little more accurate measurement of what I'm doing.
Do you get a lot of good information from that Bootstrap Farmer website, or are there any other resources that you like to use?
You could probably get everything you need information-wise from Bootstrap Farmer. YouTube is a great learning area also. The microgreens groups on Facebook are very good. There's a couple YouTube channels. I highly recommend one called On the Grow. And what they do is they experiment and compare. They have their own microgreens business. They're in Texas, but they make videos all the time, every week, at least one or two, on how to grow things, what the seed rate is, how long to keep it in the blackout period, how long it takes to grow from start to finish. They'll compare growing in water to growing in soil, if there's a difference in taste, if there's a difference in grow capacity. There's a organically approved, I don't want to say fertilizer, nutrient that you can add to the water called Ocean Solutions. And that mixture is at about a 1/2 ounce per gallon. And so it goes a long way. And I've experimented both directions, with and without it. And I find that flavor-wise, there's no difference. Um, it's OMRI approved, so it is an organic product. And the only difference is it will grow taller.
Mm.
You do get a bigger plant by utilizing that.
Great. So everybody probably sees me typing away. I'm trying to make sure I take notes so that I can include links and everything. Everybody who has attended or is attending, I'm able to send an email out to. So I'll make sure that
Okay.
that On the Grow YouTube channel goes out, and I'll probably email you, Jason, to just clarify some of my notes. We had one.
And
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say also there is, I have this on YouTube. I haven't turned it public yet, but I can turn it public right now, and I can post the link in chat here while we're talking, if that's
Great.
okay with everybody. In case they want to watch the video again, if they think there's anything they missed, because I see some comments that it was coming through kind of low in some areas. So
Yeah, that would be great. I started work. I forgot to record the beginning. So it's
okay.
perfect that we have the YouTube video, and then I started recording afterwards. So we have this Q&A that we can share with everybody as well.
Oh, sure.
We had a question about fans. Do you use fans once you put them under the light? Is there any fan use that's important?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. I found that by putting small fans that they use to go on computers, on computer towers, like gamers will use these specific types of fans, are about this big. And I do use one of those uh, per rack. No, not per rack, per tray on shelf. That's the word, per shelf.
Great. I want to open it up if anybody has questions and they'd like to unmute themselves. You can unmute yourself if you kind of put your cursor over your name and click unmute.
Hi, Jason. My name is Maya. I'm based in Australia, Darwin, and I did had a couple of failures in the hydroponic microgreens.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to know the lighting. How long do we keep, and how, like, when do we start the lighting, the LED lights?
Well, when you get to the leaves starting to form on the top of the microgreen, that's when it's best to take it out from underneath the blackout and put it in under the lights and let it grow from there.
So do we keep the lights on entire day, or?
Oh, I've heard of some people doing that, but I don't think that's good for the plants. I think with me, 12 hours is what I do. I've read where some people do 16 and 18 hours and their productivity is higher. I haven't experimented in that direction. With me, it's kind of like if it works, don't fix it. And 12 hours works really well for me. And I've got it set on a timer so that the whole rack comes on and turns off 7 and 7 a.m., 7 p.m.
Thanks, Jason.
Oh, you're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Denise.
Hi, Denise.
Hi. I have a like a plastic grow bin.
Mhm.
It's probably about 4 feet by 2 feet, raised off the ground, and that's what I was thinking of using to grow these in. It would be outside, so would I still be using? I kind of didn't get about the pad, whether I'd be using the pad with that or would I just do it in the soil?
You could do it either way. You could use either medium, any medium you want really underneath the sun. The nice thing about the pad is you can also, if you're not using two trays like I do, one that's slotted, in your case you're using just one container. With the pad, you can lift up the pad and pour the water in underneath it.
Okay.
Now, if you have two containers and you want to take a hot knife and melt holes in the bottom of it, so it allows the liquid to come up into the roots and the roots to go down in the liquid.
Oh, okay. Because it's
They don't
got,
even, they don't have to be identical containers.
oh, well, it's one long container that's it, and it's got drain holes already in it. It's made for growing stuff in it, but
Oh, okay. So it's already set up for hydroponics then.
not necessarily for hydroponics, but it's designed to grow any vegetables, but
Okay.
raised above.
Yeah, that would be perfect. And if you had some way to put something underneath it to capture the water, to catch it and hold it, you don't want to hold too much water because then you'll have, again, root rot issues. But if 10 by 20 is what, 200 square inches, so that 200 square inches requires 1 cup of water. Now, what it would require in yours, I don't know the dimensions, but whatever, you could take that 200 and divide that into whatever you have and determine how much watering you would need.
And would I be able to grow anything other than the microgreens along in that container?
Sure.
Well,
Yeah, you could grow it right next to it. The only concern I would have, and I'm no expert in this, Bill might be able to help you more with this, is the amount of water that would be needed. Let's say you were growing a watermelon patch next to your microgreens. That might require considerably more water, and it might drown out the microgreens.
no, they'd be herbs, just herbs.
Oh, herbs? Yeah, I grow microherbs. So they, for instance, like cilantro or mustard, something like that. It's the same thing. It grows a lot faster, and the flavor is just off the charts. It's so intense, the amount of flavor in it. Even oregano, for that matter.
Oh, okay, great.
We had a couple questions in the chat. One about temperature. Is there any too hot, too cold?
I have found I lost a whole crop at 77 degrees. So I keep it at 72 to 74 and works fine.
Great. And then when you were doing your commercial supply, were you growing from home?
Yes, I grow all from home. I'm completely a home-based indoor business.
Cool. Do we have any other questions? If you want to unmute yourself, go for it.
Anyone who wants to know the meaning of life, I reference Douglas C. Adams for that. So.
All right.
Jason, is Bill.
Hey, Bill.
It seems like a wonderful emergency source of food too.
That's a great point, especially during things like what's happening right now. This may or may not be the last time we ever see this. And it's good to have your supply, like you were saying, right in your house, right there.
Yeah. So in terms of a small family, say of 3 or 4 people, how many trays would you recommend growing for an occasional usage? Not necessarily every single meal, but maybe say once or twice a day, utilizing some of this.
Well, the shelf life, if you will, of a tray is about 1 to 2 weeks after maturity. A tray is 10 by 20. And for instance, we grow our arugula Rambo radish mix that we grow for smoothies. We use a 5 by 5 every day. So that's 8 of those in one tray. So that's 8 days worth of food right there, which is probably more of those nutritional elements that most people get in a month, just within those 8 days, because of the they're very close to 40 times the amount like broccoli is. So for a family of 4, I think realistically, unless your kids really love microgreens, which my dog does, he'll pass out from eating the things. He loves them so much. But a trick I tell people to get their kids to eat vegetables, if they don't particularly like vegetables, make a pizza. When the pizza comes out of the oven, sprinkle microgreens on it. They'll eat them, never even taste them. And so that's true with just about any food. They can just put it right on there, and unless it's a visual thing, and they won't eat it because, oh my God, what's on top of my food? Well, mix it in. But so realistically, a family of 4, I would say 1 or 2 trays would probably last them 2 weeks. Because you don't have to eat as much as we do. You can just take like a clump like this for a meal per person. So that's less than let's say they use a 5 by 5 every day for a family of 4. And if they did that, that's 8 days worth right there. And it costs about $5. That's including the water and the electricity. Now there is an initial investment, of course, of lights and trays and that sort of thing. But realistically, a person could get going for under $500 easily.
You mentioned getting kids to eat sprouts. As someone who's worked with a lot of kids who say they don't eat vegetables, and then you get them growing their own and they love them. It
Yeah,
seems
once they
like,
start growing them.
yeah, it seems like something that if you can get your kids involved, which it seems like it has a lot of great steps that can teach them a lot of things.
Excellent
Maybe
point.
they'll be excited to try them.
Yeah, that and growing sprouts too, just in a quart jar, is another cool thing you can do with kids. It's not really microgreens; it's actually pre-microgreen level.
I was going to
Um,
ask that question. I think I know the answer, but what's the difference between sprouts and microgreens?
it's a growth stage. Sprout is, the small plant, doesn't have any leaves yet, or it has one leaf that's really tiny, and that's a sprout, like a bean sprout or a alfalfa sprout. In the case of broccoli sprouts, Dr. Patrick, I think her name is. I'll have to look that up on YouTube. She's a huge proponent of broccoli sprouts because of the sulforaphane level in it. And she teaches you how to freeze them and then eat them in a smoothie. They taste horrible. That's why I add all these other things to it. But they have such a high sulforaphane level at this point, 300 times the amount of the sulforaphane, which is a known anti-carcinogen. There was a 2002 study that proved that it kills cancer cells. So the sulforaphane is highly coveted amongst your health food people.
And what is this person's name again?
Dr. Rhonda Patrick, that's her name. Rhonda Patrick, RHONDA PATRICK. Look her up on YouTube or on her, I forget her website. Well, you'll find her on YouTube, and from there you can go to her website.
Mm-hmm.
She's a PhD biologist, and she's more of a clinician. She's not a doctor. She won't say you need to eat, 4 ounces of this every day. That's not in her scope. Her scope is research and teaching and interviewing other experts in the field about health and nutrition. FoundMyFitness.com, that's her website.
Found my?
Found, FOUND, myfitness.com.
And I'll include that website as well as the YouTube channel in the notes that I'll send out tomorrow.
Yeah, her stuff is great. Very, very good.
Do we have any last questions before we go on to some community announcements?
I see a question. Oh, this may be old, about if the distilled or RO before using. Yeah, I use RO. You could use any water. Wouldn't make any difference. I'm just funny about what's in the water. So I think distilled may be just absolutely nothing left in the water. That might be a problem.
It's someone who it wasn't a question, but it would be something interesting to hear more about, and just how it seems like a good business model. And I'd be interested to hear about your experience in turning it into your business and kind of the economics of it.
The economics, I'm not telling you any secret thing here. You can find this anywhere. It averages about $25 a pound, which is the highest grossing, highest net of any vegetable. Nothing else you grow, whether it be mushrooms, onions, whatever, does not give you as high of a profit margin as microgreens will. But microgreens are somewhat of a specialty item, so you have a much smaller volume. You're trying to deal with chefs and restaurants. I've run a restaurant before, so I feel a little more in touch with being able to go up to chefs and say, hey, how's it going today, chef? I got something good for you here. I think you're going to like these. I just leave them a free sample, check back with them next week. They already know what microgreens are. They use them. If they don't, I'm never going to sell them on the concept of adding, a 20 cent or 30 cent additional investment per plate to put microgreens on it, because it's a tight margin business, unless you're really big, like some places.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it seems like it's good that you have the restaurant knowledge going in.
Well, I really want to build up my home delivery business above anything else. That's the area I want to focus on. And now that we're theoretically coming down from the lockdown. I don't know how true that actually is, but that being the case, I need to get back to work in that category. Start contacting people who want the microgreens, and they just like to have them at home because I can deliver. Say, for instance, we were talking about the business model. The average price for a tray of microgreens from an independent grower like myself is about $40. So I do free deliveries at half a tray for $20. If they want a full tray, I'll do it for $30. So that cuts into my margin a little bit, but it increases volume. So whichever works better. It's always an experiment with this. It's not like you can go to USF and get a degree in growing microgreens.
Oh, random question that came up for me, and then we can go on to announcements. Are
Okay.
they cut and come again, or is it once you cut, you cut?
Once you cut, it's cut. And
Okay.
while we're on that topic, I'll elaborate a little more in that I sell them live and living. They're still on the pad. Like if you came up to me at the farmer's market and you wanted to buy, a $5 square of microgreens, which is 5 by 5, I would hand it to you in a container, but it'd still be growing on the pad. You could go home and have it continue to grow, or you could harvest it. I don't recommend washing it at that point. Don't wash it until you're ready to eat it. You really probably don't have to wash it, but I just wash everything. And I do a very sterile grow, so it's not anything that I'm adding to it. But that's not to say that nature won't add any other pathogens to it. So you can take and harvest it off of the pad and put it in a container in the refrigerator. And when you want to take some out and put it on your salad or your tuna or whatever, give it a quick rinse, put it on there. You could dry it if you want in a spinner or however, and go to town.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any lingering questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, Jason. This was super informative. I'm glad we got such a amazingly put together video from you, and then also a lot of time to answer a lot of our burning questions.
Stop, please stop.
So I'd like to open it up. We do this at our in-person meetings, but just for any community announcements, that could be a volunteer opportunity that you know about or that you're doing, a class that you might be teaching upcoming, just kind of a free time to make any announcements that might be relevant. And you can either unmute yourself or type it in the chat box and I'll read it.
I'd like to say that I'm growing a lot of plants that people might be interested in. A lot of native wildflowers. We really need to pay attention to supporting pollinators in our gardens. And the wildflowers will give us that, plus good wild beauty, actually beauty in the landscape as well. So it's a multifunctional thing when you're planting wildflowers. And I just recently have been having, it was 3 times in one week, ruby-throated hummingbirds nectaring on the tropical sage wildflower. It's just spectacular, spectacular bird. So I'm also growing some hot weather food. Next month I'll be doing the presentation on summer vegetables, which we've done for like 5 or 6 years now. And I'll have a few new items in there. Plus I'm growing all of the plants here at my house that you really can't find out in the conventional commercial establishments. So there's a lot of growing going on here during this isolation period.
Bill, if anyone's interested in purchasing plants, how can they do that?
Well, they can contact me through my phone number, through a text or a call, 727-488-3163. Or go to my Facebook page, it's Earth Song. Earth Song Urban Oasis. And I live just off of 49th Street on 10th Avenue North, so I'm fairly centrally located. Right now, very much in place is social distancing and face masks, but we're still able to do some business. Also, I'll have some hot weather lettuces, actually bred in Israel and Hawaii. So I'm looking forward to working with those. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Bill, and everybody. Keep on your calendar our next month's monthly meetings, the first Monday, whatever that is, in June, and it'll likely be virtual again because we're going to respect social distancing guidelines. We probably won't gather in any large groups anytime soon.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
I just put on the chat there Dr. Rhonda Patrick's YouTube channel for anybody who's interested in health-related items. She's pretty much a very informative expert in those categories.
For some reason, I didn't see it, but is it the?
It's the third one from the bottom right now, just above Bill's.
Cool. Lisa, I saw you unmute yourself. Did you have a announcement?
Hi there. Yes, just wanted to tell everybody about my new Facebook page, the Pink Street Pharmacy. It's FARMACY Pharmacy. And all this week for International Compost Awareness Week, we're going to be having just a brief live Facebook, so that we can chat about what people are doing. And I do have some extra materials if anyone needed to do some composting here at site. So if you wanted to look up tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., just be part of a brief conversation and then chat afterwards on Pink Street Pharmacy.
Cool, and that's going to be on Facebook, Lisa?
Yes, on Facebook.
All right. Do we have any other community announcements? All right. Well, I guess we can wrap up then. I will be sending out, expect it tomorrow, some notes from today's call, trying to include any links or resources that were mentioned. Bill's contact info, I'll put it over here again. I'll also include both Bill's contact info and Lisa's Pink Street Pharmacy info, so that everybody can have that. And then we have a Facebook group now. I know we have a Facebook page that we've been using for a while, but we also have a Facebook group where we can just chat and continue the conversations that happened in our monthly calls. So I'll make sure to send that link. We'd love to hear from you. You know, if you're looking for a certain kind of plant, you need soil, it's just kind of a place to say, I'm growing this thing that's really cool and I have some extra seeds. Would anybody like me to drop them off at your doorstep? That's kind of the intention there. So keep an eye out for those notes. They'll be out by tomorrow afternoon. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jason. We really appreciate you. And this was really great.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Terrific.
All right. Bye, y'all. I mean, we got 15 more minutes. If you stay on and want to chat with people, I will not, I won't shut it down completely. But the meeting has officially concluded.
Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, all.
I don't know who all's here. How do you see everyone?
I think there's a gallery view. You might need to, are you on your phone or are you on your laptop?
So probably I think I have to scroll to see everyone.
Yeah.
Yep. Hi, Lisa. Sheena. Hi, everybody. Hi, Bill.
Sheena.
Hi, Heather. Hi, Jen. Hi, Ken. Hi, Erin. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Sheena.
Vicky. Hi, Vicky. Just saw you the other day.
More people need to get cameras here. We need to see it.
I'm watering. My hose is loud.
Hey, Abhijit.
Hi, how are you, Bill? I want to stop by. I miss you.
Vijay was in the last PTC class, last organic,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to hook up with you on those hot weather lettuces.
Yes.
I want to see what that is.
I know.
I don't know what that is.
Well, they were bred, as I said, in Israel and Hawaii
Israel.
for year-round use.
Ooh. Ooh.
I mean, I'm going to be trialing them, and I'm hoping some of you will trial some of them too.
I would love to trial some.
Yes.
I'm going to split the growing of them in a full sun area and a part shaded area and see the comparison of the same varieties. I've got 4 different varieties.
Container? Can you grow them in containers?
Sure.
Oh, I have a little bit of. One's looking.
Breaking up.
Oh, sorry. If anyone's still looking for some soil, I know that it's hard to get it right now, so I still have a little bit at my house too.
Oh. I'll have to come and see that. I need soil.
That's good news.
Oh, yes, Lisa. I gotta write that down, Lisa.
City of St.
Okay.
Pete's still delivering mulch, you guys.
Yay!
I just got mine like last week. So
Good.
Who's delivering?
City of St. Pete.
Oh, okay.
Soil builder?
No, they don't have any soil builder. It's just the free mulch.
Right.
Yeah, the Hills County also said that they are open for self-serve as well, but they have a front loader. They said that they'd be happy to use a front loader if someone has a truck for free.
Oh, Michael,
County,
do you know which location?
The small ones are not operational yet. The big ones over main one.
So 128th Avenue.
Yeah, you can get free mulch there, and they said that they'll load us up with front loader.
Oh, nice.
And it's the the drift mulch stuff. That's the good stuff.
Oh, good.
Oh. I don't know how to get that.
Sheena,
Well, I have to go. Who said Sheena? Nikki?
I did. It's Heather. I was just going to see if you were able to get veggies last week, and if not,
No. No. I'm still scrounging around.
Where is it?
all about the timing these days.
Yeah, I know. So I'm gonna go over and raid Bill's garden at night, and I'm coming by Vicky's during night because I know she's asleep. And when I find out where Lisa lives, I'm gonna raid her as well.
Well,
Actually,
I know Life Farms updated his store this morning.
yeah, I did order this morning. I'm just joking.
Good.
I'll be there Saturday. But I'm going around raiding some of the gardens to see what's left before it all bolts.
That's a good idea.
I can freeze it. It's my delay because I had a lot of collard greens and things frozen. I had no more room for anything. And then, the pandemic happened. I ate all that up and I was like, I'm a bad bear. I can't hibernate for the summer. I don't have enough vegetables. And I hate going to the regular market.
Mm-hmm.
But I know where Vicky lives, so I'm going to go at night and get her. She's going to think it's the animals, but it's going to be me.
Well, I'm picking up orders this week, Sheena. If you want yours dropped off at your house.
Where are you guys getting veggies from?
Don't tell her.
I need veggies.
So the St. Pete Saturday Market is doing like a drive-through style, and you order from the individual farmers or from the online market.
Yeah, I don't know how to do any of that.
I'll include it in the notes because I'm all about making sure people can buy veggies. So I'll include it in the notes. But if you go to St. Pete Saturday Morning Market's website, then it's there. And Jen and Carly and I have been rotating, picking up for people and dropping off.
Oh my God, y'all are great.
Well, if you guys need help with that, on Saturdays I'm normally free, so I can help with that too.
Cool.
Well, you got to get on an order and hurry up because I ordered.
I do need to get on an order. So is it the I can't remember.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, she just sent her the email that I sent.
Yeah, I'll just forward that one and I'll send her everything.
Okay.
soon as I get
Well,
off, I'll
Sheena,
do that.
you live in my neighborhood, so I could pick
Yeah.
up for us.
Okay, thank you. Good seeing everybody. Glad you can't see me. I'm not dressed appropriately. Don't have my hair done or anything. Didn't get my eyebrows done, so I'm in trouble. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
That's why I have bangs. No one can see my eyebrows.
Oh my goodness, yes. But I'll catch up with you. Vicki, I'm gonna send it to you as soon as I find it on my email. We shouldn't take that long. Good night,
Okay.
everybody. Take care.
Good night.
Bye, everyone. I'm gonna head out too.
All right. Bye.